Has anything increased since it's been legal, like as far as activity that you've seen or issues you've had?
Not that I've seen, at least as far as us so far. But I mean, what they're expecting is, and I kind of expect it too, is we're going to get a lot more DUIs. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the main thing for that as far as the marijuana goes. I think we're going to get a lot more people that are impaired on marijuana or the wax and stuff like that than we had before, just because now it's legal. More people are going to be doing it, just like alcohol DUIs. It's
Right.
very similar. And a lot of people, they say it's like, it doesn't cause impairment. Well, it actually does cause a lot of impairment. And the one case that I've seen that like the most impaired I've ever seen someone was he was high on marijuana, THC. Basically, this is under Title 36,
Okay.
the Prop and verse Title 13. So we had the Arizona Attorney General and stuff like that that did all the instruction for us. But like even with them, they're still kind of unsure of how it's going to play out for the next few months. Like a lot of this stuff has to play out in the courts to kind of figure out where like our role goes in it and the like different criminal aspects of it, what they can and can't charge. But as far as like the weight limit, so basically up to 1 ounce of marijuana is lawful. So you can have for personal use up to 1 ounce. If you have more than 1 ounce to 2.5 ounces, that's a petty offense. So basically a petty offense is it's still a criminal act, but it's only you can only be prosecuted with fines.
Okay.
So that's how the penalties. There's no jail time or anything like that associated with it. Basically, anything over 2.5 ounces is going to be a felony. 2 pounds to 4 pounds is going to be a Class 5 felony, and then more than 4 pounds is a Class 4 felony. And that's going to be all prosecuted under Title 13, which is criminal law, whereas the petty offense is going to be prosecuted under Title 36, which is the Prop 207. And basically, so there's no sales allowed between anyone. So the only place you can buy marijuana or the wax or anything like that is from a dispensary. If anything else, so like basically a person sells weed to another person, that's drugs for sale. So that's a felony.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
so that's,
wondering if there's anything wrong with like, say you have a party and it's recreational now and they are supplying, like instead of supplying drinks, they're supplying joints to their friends or something like that. Is that legal now?
yeah, I mean, that in my opinion would be fine, but I'm not really sure what they're going to charge as long as there's nothing given in return for it.
Right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be, to me, that's not for sale. But like I said, they're still kind of figuring out what's going on with it. And that's for the actual plant. So when you get into the concentrate, so like the wax and stuff like that, there's different ways. So you can have up to 5 grams for personal use, and then 5 grams to 12.5 grams is the petty offense. And then basically anything over 12.5 grams is a felony. And the thing that's different about the concentrate is before we could like say like you had a brownie or it's in like a drink or something, that whole weight of whatever the brownie is or the drink would count towards the weight of the drug. Whereas now it's only the weight of the concentrate. So basically they would have to extract the THC from whatever it's in to see what it actually weighs. Yeah, and so they're trying to figure out on whether or not, they haven't had too many cases yet, obviously. So they're trying to figure out on how that's going to play out as far as the labs and stuff go, because it's going to have to be done in the labs. So you can have your own plants. You can have up to 6 plants for one person that lives under a household that's 21 or older. And then if there's 2 or more people that are 21 over, you can have up to 12 plants, but you can't have more than 12 plants at all. No matter how many people are in the house, you can't have more than 12 plants.
Talk about the recreational side that, like, I guess if you're responsible, then that's like fine. Like if you can have a drink at lunch and then, it's metabolized and an hour later you drive. And if you can do that with, say, a drink, then maybe you can, your limitations with the cannabis or whatever that they're doing it recreationally. They can,
Yeah,
it's like,
and that's one thing. That's one thing they're gonna have to try and figure out too. So basically, a DUI with drugs is any metabolite in your blood. So right now they're saying like normally like a THC metabolite is within 24 hours, but so if you have any metabolite in your blood right now, that's a DUI, technically for. So that's the one thing that they've kind of brought up that is going to be interesting to see if the legislature does put in like a certain limit as far as like nanograms per liter of blood or things like that. Because I know other states have, but we haven't. We have any metabolite, but we have to prove impairment. So basically, even if you admit that you smoked marijuana, like you still have to, the officer still has to prove impairment. Yeah, so normally the metabolite, the like actual THC metabolite, is out of your blood within like 24 hours normally. It could be sooner, it could be longer, it just depends. And it depends on what metabolite actually stays in there and, how much you had, things like that. Same thing similar with alcohol. It's just harder. We have to send the blood out. Whereas, with alcohol, we can either do the intox, which does it right away, figures your breath alcohol, or even like a PBT, which they aren't as accurate. That's why they're not like allowed in court, but they're still pretty accurate as far as determining people's like blood alcohol levels.
But people should look out for so they don't get into trouble as I'm giving them other
information, Yeah, make sure you're within the weight limits as far as how much you have, and then also, so like you can't, so like now it's illegal to smoke in public. Well, it's a petty offense. But so basically what they were saying is that vaping doesn't fall under the Arizona Revised Statute's definition of smoking. So vaping in public is okay as of right now. But like I said, the legislature's gotta figure out what they're going to do with that kind of stuff, and if they're going to change definitions of things, or if they're going to just add vaping into it, or what. But yeah, so smoking is not allowed; it's a petty offense. But the vaping technically doesn't fall under the definition of smoking. So right now it's allowed, but we'll see what happens in the next few months.
It'll be interesting to see how it changes.
Yeah, seriously.